So I just saw Kraven the Hunter, and this movie was laughably bad. Now, I went into this film with very, very low expectations. It is a Sony film after all. It was getting terrible reviews. It debuted to 12% on Rotten Tomatoes, but you know what? I was like, I gotta give this a chance and check it out for myself. And holy smokes, like, Sony is consistent. This thing was just an absolute train wreck. The CGI was terrible, the visuals were not good, a lot of the acting wasn't great, the story was a mess, the editing was terrible. A lot of stuff in this movie just did not make a lot of sense. It wasn't very entertaining. I felt very bored watching this thing. So the movie is all about Aaron Taylor Johnson playing Kraven the Hunter. We get to see his origin, which I think they spent way too much time on. There's another actor, I forgot his name, but basically we're with him for a good maybe like 30 minutes, which I thought was insane. We did not need that much time away from Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like, it just felt very, very unnecessary. Then we cut back to modern day where Kraven is basically an animal lover and he's hunting bad humans. Which right there, that's not Kraven the Hunter. Kraven the Hunter is someone that hunts animals. He is looking for a challenge. He is the ultimate hunter looking for the best prey out there. Another thing that does not help this movie is the fact that Marvel Spider-Man 2 had Kraven in it and he was done 1,000 times better. So people are going to naturally compare the two because it's the same character. The one from the video game at least had a Russian accent, he was badass, he was trying to hunt down Spider-Man, which is another complaint that I would have, is Sony's spin-off universe does not have Spider-Man. That's the connective tissue that all of these villain movies need. If you remove Spider-Man, then a lot of the aura of these villains is gone, like a lot of the interest just goes away. But yeah, Marvel Spider-Man 2 did Kraven way better. So yeah, now Kraven has a list, he's checking it twice, and he is going and hunting all of the people on it. Or at least he does for a few minutes, because there is a massive list, and he said that he's going to go through it, and I think he only went like maybe a couple of pages in that book and then forgot about the rest. And it's just weird, like he's just hunting down these bad guys, and I'm like, this is not Kraven the Hunter. Sony also changed his powers, they're more animalistic, I guess, and yeah, that was interesting. This movie also has way too many villains in it. We've got Kraven's dad, we've got Rhino, we've got this guy called the Foreigner, and then we've got the poachers and all the henchmen and everything. Like, it was just crowded with bad guys. One thing I will say, though, is I did like the dynamic between Kraven, his dad, and his brother Dimitri. I really liked the dynamic that they had there. There was a lot of potential, but it obviously was not executed extremely well. And I will say that Russell Crowe, his voice was perfect. Like, that's how Kraven should have sounded like, because that's a huge complaint that I have, is the fact that Kraven did not have a Russian accent. That is a staple for his character. And that's also a staple for the Rhino character. Alexei is supposed to have a thick Russian accent, and he's supposed to be the Rhino, and in this movie, he doesn't really have an accent from what I could hear. And that's just a shame, I love Rhino with a Russian accent. It's just a, thing that all Spider-Man fans have come to appreciate and associate with this character. And speaking of Rhino, we have got to talk about him specifically. When he's in human form, absolute nut job. This guy's like a Saturday morning cartoon. All of his lines are just insane. He's walking around with a backpack that has like medicine or whatever to stop his rhino disease from spreading. But he just looks goofy, He's walking around with a backpack and he's like, I'm the Rhino, I have a skin condition. And oh my god, the CGI when he goes full Rhino in the final battle is laughable. It is terrible. He literally looks like this. He looks like a PlayStation 2 villain. The CGI must have been done like a couple days before the release because it was that bad. And a lot of the visuals were bad. There was a lot of noticeable green screen CGI that just didn't look very crisp. Rhino effects, like I was just saying, were abysmal. And this movie visually just didn't look that great. The cinematography was also pretty poor because I can't even think of a single shot where I was like, you know what, that's beautiful. None of it looked that good. Now, I guess I should talk about some positives because this is not like the worst movie ever made. I still think Madam Web is miles worse than Kraven the Hunter. So for positives, I would say Aaron Taylor Johnson does a good job as Kraven. He looks the part. He's pretty charismatic, and I liked him in this role. Like, he actually does deliver. But the script isn't great, and some of the stuff they have him doing is just kind of dumb. And this just really sucks because I think if he was Kraven in an MCU Spider-Man movie, he would actually be pretty badass. But the fact that they wasted Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven in this solo movie is just, a complete waste. Because I don't think we're going to see Kraven on the big screen for a long time after this. So yeah, I liked Aaron Taylor Johnson in the role. I would say I like Russell Crowe as his father. I thought he was really menacing, and that Russian accent was very, very good. I would also say some of the action was pretty decent. It wasn't amazing by any means. Like, I thought this movie was going to be action-packed, rated R goodness, but to be honest, there wasn't even that much action in this movie. There was a cool fight scene in the jungle or in Siberia or something, and then there was a cool little chase scene and a prison break scene, but besides that, like, meh, The final battle was terrible. And this movie is not even like a hard rated R. Like, yes, there's a couple of brutal kills, but that's about it. And then you can tell that they were throwing in some F-bombs and stuff just to, make it look and sound like a rated R movie, even though it, you could easily make this PG-13. So yeah, I didn't even think Kraven the Hunter really earned that R rating. Like, they, had a couple of brutal kills and said some bad words, and that was about it. Sony also spoiled the end of the damn movie again. Every single trailer they do this, and it's so damn frustrating. Kraven gets his final suit in, like, the final scene of the movie, and that was all over the marketing. And I hate when studios do that. Now, another big complaint I have is the ADR. Whoever does ADR at Sony needs to be fired. It was terrible, just like in Madam Web. So yeah, guys, this movie is not very good. Honestly, I was gonna give it a 4 out of 10, but then that third act happened, and my score dropped to a 3 out of 10. So that's what I'm gonna give the movie, a 3 out of 10. It is not very good. It is definitely below average. I feel bad for Aaron Taylor Johnson because he is trying hard, but this script and this, direction that this film took was just terrible. It was just a laughable attempt at a Kraven the Hunter movie, in my opinion. This movie absolutely should have been an MCU movie, so Sony, just please license the rights to Marvel Studios so they can actually, have good attempts at bringing these characters to live action, because right now you're just ruining a lot of Spider-Man characters. This movie right here, with Tom Holland's Spider-Man facing off against Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven the Hunter, would be so damn cool, but the fact that we're probably never going to see this now is an absolute shame. And one other thing, I totally forgot about this, but Rhino in this movie, he's not even big. Like, Rhino is typically someone that's around the size of maybe like the Thing or the Hulk or Venom, something like that. And what they did was just so laughable. He basically becomes Rhino from like the torso up, his legs are super small, and he's the size of a human being. Like, it was just laughable. Rhino just looked so weird on the big screen, like he's basically the same height as Kraven, but just big and bulky, but then his legs are just tiny. I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, this movie was honestly terrible. I was covering my mouth in disbelief at least 3 times while watching it. That's my thoughts on the movie. It is not very good. I don't recommend to see it at all, unless you want to go and just, like, laugh at the movie. Or if you're just a big Spider-Man fan like myself and you just have to see everything Spider-Man related, even though Spider-Man's not even in it. If you have seen this movie, let me know down below in the comments what you think about it and what would you give it out of 10. I'm just so happy this is the end of the Sony spin-off universe, at least for now. That's what they're saying. Sony, please stop making these movies. Just license the characters to Marvel, make a bunch of money, and you don't have to do anything. That's it. I'll see you in the next video.